welcome to the live gameplay stream. I'll just give it a moment to make sure everyone can hear me. Alright, I'll just sort of, wait for some feedback. It takes about sort of, 10-15 seconds between launching it and it going live. Cool, yep, looks like it's all live. Alright, cool. Alright, cool. Alright, awesome. Hi everyone. Thank you for joining the second Wonderman Nation live gameplay stream. In the last stream, we covered what was in the pitch deck and the white paper, the creature breeding and the battle. It's been quite a lot's happened since then, so we'll giving you guys a bit of a recap of where we're up to and where things are going. All right, so let's do some little housekeeping before we get started. In the description below the video, I've got a bit of an overview of what I'm going to be talking about in this video. So I've got a lot to cover. I won't be able to cover everything in a whole lot of detail. So I'm going to be skipping through things going pretty fast. So so kind of keep an eye on the description to see what's going to be covered. We are going to do a live AMA next week, so sort of same time, same day as now, like in a week, so the 26th of November. So if you've got any questions, like any big burning questions, feel free to ask them in the YouTube comments. I'm going to be checking that as we go. We've got socials on Telegram and Discord, so you can put your questions in there as well. We've got a community moderator there, kind of ready to answer things, and we may be able to sort of answer some things during the video or after the video. But as I mentioned, we're going to be doing an AMA next week. So any big questions that I think really need to kind of get broken out into a bit more of a explanation, then the next AMA will be a great spot to have those addressed. In terms of the description, I've got a bit of a layout of what I'm going to be covering. I might be switching the order of those things as I go, because I'm just kind of like, it's a live demo and I'm kind of winging it. So don't be surprised if I skip over some stuff. I'm going to try to get back to everything. All right, so what else is there? So, so with the last stream, a bit of a recap. With the last stream, we showed off the creature breeding, which was done. That was 100% complete. And then we showed off the battle mode, which is around 70 to 80% complete. After that we just had some abilities, a few little features to add, a bit more polish and bug fixing before we went live with Wonderman Nation. But a question came up in the studio around the creature breeding, because the creature breeding was really fun, the question was asked just like whether or not it would be fun to have a bit more of a sort of expanded creature breeding. So not just like you breed a creature and it comes out as an adult and it's ready for battle, but something where you breed a creature and it comes out as a baby, and then you get to kind of raise and rear that creature and direct its development in a way that you wanted. So in a way that sort of suited either your gameplay or maybe suited your other creatures that you had, and kind of worked well with the team. And there's kind of more that kind of tied into that. So we kind of thought that was a really cool thing. It was a really cool idea. It's obviously kind of like the Pokemon Tamagotchi thing as well. So the good things about it are, obviously there's more emotional attachment to the creatures, so that's always really cool. So you're not just like taking some kind of random creature that you just like got given to you. You kind of have your own creature that you raise, and it's kind of you're taking into battle. So you kind of got a bit more sort of emotional attachment to that creature. But then also it kind of opens up the game to like another style of gameplay and another sort of like genre, another market that we can kind of tap. And then from an ecosystem point of view, it means that there's just kind of more things to do, and there's like a bit more balance in the ecosystem. So we decided it was worth giving a shot. So we decided it was like we wanted to just sort of see if it was going to be as good as we thought it might be. So we just sort of set aside 2 weeks of our development time from the battle mode just to give this thing a little shot. And if it wasn't good, fine, we just lost 2 weeks and we just kind of moved back on to where we were. Or if it was good, we just see what would happen. So long story short, it was good. It was really good. We've sort of found that we had like a real kind of nugget of gold with that. And it really started to switch our thinking. We always had thought about the battle mode as being like the center of the Wonderman Nation universe, and we'd have other games that tapped into that and sort of all kind of connected back. They're all unique, but they'll kind of all feed back into the battle mode. But the more we developed and played with the village, we kind of started to really see that actually this is the center of the Wonderman Nation universe. And it's kind of made us rethink a lot about the way Wonderman Nation works and the other features, which I'll kind of discuss through as I go through the other points I wanted to talk about. All right, so initially the creature breeding rearing started out as what we were calling the Creche concept, which was just the sort of enhanced creature breeding. So it's meant to be something you kind of find in the menu here, and you'd go into that and you'd do your Creching stuff, and you come back out and do the other stuff. But that quickly changed to become a village mode, so it's kind of changing the way the whole user interface works. So yeah, so this whole kind of like button portal is kind of in the process of changing. One of our previous plans as well was to do a community feature. We had some ideas around some really cool sort of social community things we could do with NFTs. We had like a real kind of like basic design for that, which we thought was really cool on paper, but we hadn't sort of really fleshed that out yet. But again, as we started developing the village, we realized that actually was that feature, so we'll kind of end up working on one of those future features earlier. It became a lot more important than we thought it might be. And then another kind of thing that came out of that, which we'll talk about as I go through the new village, is that it's a really great way for the community to form alliances and kind of actually do some of this creature raising and rearing together. And it's, yeah, again, it's kind of changed the way it's kind of worked. So I'm going to jump into it now. And I'll just quickly mention before I do that the in-game UI for the village is all placeholder stuff. So so for our UI designer, if he's watching, this is not his design. This is basically just programmer art, which we're going to be changing. So once we finish all the core features of the village, we'll be redoing the UI. All right, so I just loaded that up. All right, just give it a second. I'll just move my windows around here. Now I've got the game live. All right, thanks for the comments on my hair in the video. I was out and about playing with my daughter at the park this morning, and I was running around and I got all messed up, so I came home and gave myself a shower and got myself all tidied up. All right, so welcome to my village. All right, so as you see, I've got a lot of creatures. Obviously, we're in development here, so we've been breeding and rearing a lot of these creatures. So my village is a bit full on. All right, so I'll leave this in the background as I talk through each specific part, and you guys can watch the creatures interact. So yeah, owning a plot. So the village itself, so I'll go from the left to the right. So the village itself is this plot. I can kind of click on this so you can sort of see the grid. So each plot has got a set number of grid cells. So everyone will get this plot, and then you've got buildings that you can place on this plot. So the idea being that you place the barns and things for creatures to sleep in. We've got an outhouse here as well, which is another place that the creatures can sleep or do other stuff in their outhouse. And I'm just going to talk about one specific building here. So I mentioned the village has now become like the center of the universe. So the creature breeding that was previously in the menu as a button, that's now become a building, which I've called the Love Shack. So yeah, so everything's kind of integrating into the village. So I might skip into this bit. So let's do a creature breed. So you'll see that this has kind of changed a little bit. So if you want to breed a creature, we now enter the Love Shack. And so now within here, within the Love Shack inside the village, this is kind of much like what you saw before. Now once we're in this, we've just sort of changed some of the UI in the background to put it into the village. So I'm going to breed a creature. Let's do what should we do? A toad and a wasp. All right, I'm going to give it a what do toads and wasps like to eat? God knows. I reckon maybe mushrooms. Nah, I don't know. Hamburgers. Why not? Hamburgers. All right, so I'm going to breed a toad and a wasp with a hamburger, and we're going to call it ham toe wasp. Ham toes. Right, ham toes. Click OK, and then Go out of here. Cool. So we can see we've got a notification now that our creature has been bred already. Let's go back to the village. I want to collect it from there. All right, so now we're in the village. Okay, so we've changed a really key part about this section here. So now when you collect a creature, you'll see I've got my toad wasp bred with the hamburger. I'll collect that. You'll see now that the creature is in marble. So again, this is kind of another feature of like rethinking the whole user interface in the village design. So previously we had the idea that people could come in. I'll talk about alliances in a second, but the idea that people could go and sort of create a creature together, or you know, or the creature would just be bred and it could be ready for battle. Whereas now it wasn't going to be ready for battle; it's going to be creached. And we didn't like the idea of people were like, you have to think about the idea of like people raise a creature, now it's a baby, but what if they're not ready to creche it and it grows up without too much care? Then does the sort of creature grow up in a way that they didn't intend because it didn't have a creche, etc. So the marble became a really good way for us to kind of control the way that the creature's kind of first bred, and then once it's bred as a marble, then it doesn't actually start kind of rearing until you've opened that marble. And there's kind of games you can play with the marble, which I'll kind of go into, right? So check my notes here, right? So yeah, so this in this new ecosystem way, like it's a really good way for people to breed creatures together. So again, that used to be like a staking feature, which is kind of a bit more sort of outside of the village, a bit more clinical. So people could stake a creature in pavilion and then kind of go through and collect creatures to breed and then breed them together. There's a whole lot of questions around who gets the creature and what happens to the breeding slots of a creature, etc. Whereas bringing that into the community means that people can form alliances. So you get your battle block when you start, and then people can join alliances, which means that their plots connect, and then once the plot's connected, there's different advantages where the two people in the alliance, and this can be expanded. Let's just start with two people. The people in the plot can then share resources between the plots. Not everyone has to buy all the same stuff. They can buy different toys or things for people for the creatures to interact with. And creatures would also get a benefit from having the different personality types, playing together. So obviously playing together would affect their happiness and the way that they'll learn, because people learn better together. So let's find, now where did my little marble go? So my marble should be in the village somewhere. I do have a big village though. Let's just do another one. We'll do that's one that I bred earlier. Let's do a bird and a beetle, and do a donut. A beetle, donut, bird. Okay. A donut. Donertle. Alright, let's go to the village. Alright, now, with a bit of luck, if I collect that marble, you'll get it in the village. There it is. Alright, cool. Alright, so here's our new marble baby creature. So I'll quickly mention that we've got a new design again for this marbling. So we've got a cool idea where if you marble a creature, it doesn't start kind of growing or rearing until you crack it open. But then this marble can be used for mini games. So we've got an idea for a pinball mini game. So you could put this marble into the pinball game. And I'll show you some of the arcade games we've made already. You put this marble into the arcade game and then play pinball, and then it might take sort of 3 hits for this creature to pop out of the marble. And so that's essentially 3 lives, and then as you're playing you can collect nectar, etc. So let's open up this marble so I can throw it around. Where should I throw it? Let's just throw it around here. So it takes a few goes to get this marble open. Yep, pop, there he is. So this is our one here, the donut that I just made. So there's our little guy. Alright, so he's now rearing himself. Alright, so what do I talk about next? I'll talk about the personalities. Okay, so all these creatures, we've used the Jungian personality matrix. So, and we use like the Maslow hierarchy of needs. So each of these characters have their own personality types. So someone will be introverted, extroverted, etc. So different creatures will like to play with different things. They'll need to like level up and skill up through play with each other and through interactions and through playing with different things in the village. And they'll help to teach each other about things as well. So much like in real life, like you might have someone who's kind of willing to sort of like jump in and play, or someone who might sort of hang back a little bit. Whereas if you put those two creatures together, then one will kind of guide the other. So someone else might unlock a sort of a more intellectual feature about a toy, whereas someone else might unlock a kind of a fun feature about a toy. And you can kind of see they're playing with each other and creating relationships. So each of these creatures has needs, and they also have relationships with each other and also with me. So me as a breeder, depending on how well I care for these creatures, it kind of changes the way that these creatures will react to me or respond to me and obey my commands. I kind of show it's actually quite fun in this one to like take these creatures and like piff them around and take these objects. Let me find, do I have any things in here? You can kind of see they're kind of like kicking each other and playing with each other. Let me put so we've got a beach ball which we've turned into a pumpkin. We did that in October. I'll put a brush. It's a bit busy over there. I'll put the brush down over here. All right, close that. All right, so if I put this beach ball over here, some creatures will find it and start playing with it. Maybe start kicking around. And we've got some creatures here who want to play the arcade games. I might show that off. I want to put another one down. We've got a couple of different games you can play, so this is the same one here. So let me put this arcade game down. All right, cool. So we've got a few different arcade games. So you'll see that these creatures here want to play the arcade games. So we've got the creatures, actually you'll see the octopus here wants to play. So if I click on, I've got the snail in the end. So if I click on the creature there that wants to play the game, I can play these mini games, which is kind of like the creature goes into the mini game. And then we can play these mini games together. So the creature gets a bonus out of this because they enjoy playing these arcade games. Let's try to get a better score. So it kind of gives interactive ways for us to kind of interact with our creatures and give them experiences and teach them certain things. Quit. Let's check out the other mini game. So we've got the wasp here who wants to play that one. So this is our actual creatures in the village. So again, they get sort of embedded in the arcade game. I'll see if I can get to the end of this one. Okay, let's not jump too early. So this is kind of like an homage to the T-Rex runner for those of you who know the T-Rex runner. Oh shit, I went too early. No, I didn't. Oh, I just swore. Sorry, everyone. Okay, all right, a couple more to go. Let's get him to the end. Yeah, cool. All right, cool. Wasp got to the end. All right, so so as you play these games with your creatures, they all get sort of different skill points. You get different happiness. It's like playing with your child. So they enjoy you playing with them and sort of showing them how to play the games. All right, what else? Okay, so let me go through my notes, make sure I cover off everything I wanted to talk about here. Okay, so with the caring interactions, so I've just played some games. Let's do some food and give some love. So we can check out, you can sort of see what this, we can hide all the needs of the creatures here, but you can see in this overlay here, we've got the different needs. So these creatures, need some love or need some food. So I can do different caring features. I can give this little guy some love. You can sort of just see, I don't know if you caught that, his love meter just got filled up, and so you can see Max there, his love got filled up as well. So I'm just kind of like giving a little bit of attention. This guy, love at or above Max. So there's different ways to love. I've got two creatures here. There's different ways to love your creatures. So if you kind of do the same thing over and over again, they kind of get bored of that. So you got to like look, you got to like interact with them in different ways and find different things to do. Obviously, I've got a lot of creatures here, so this is probably more than you want in your creche at any one time, but this is like developer mode, right? but food as well. So let's get some of our food. So we've got different foods we can do. So these are the foods you guys will all be familiar with. So we've got these NFT foods. So kind of as you would expect with the Creche, like we start to throw some food in and all of the creatures chase the food around. So let's plop that food down and it's just first in, best dressed. Let's give some more food. All right, maybe carrot. Let's give some carrot. Who wants a carrot? Everyone wants a carrot. All right, cool. They're actually kicking the creatures that you can see that are bouncing around. That's creatures kicking each other, which is sometimes playful and they enjoy it, and other times they actually don't like it and they can get upset with each other. I've got the gym equipment here. Let's show you that because I don't have any in my village yet. So we've got gym equipment. So let's put down an exercise bike. And maybe, let's do a pool toy as well. They like playing with pool toys. Yep. And some weights. Let's put some weights over here. Who doesn't like some weights? Oops, bit of a placement bug there. Let's get that. Let's put it back down there. All right, cool. Yeah, so you can give your creatures different activities to do that, sort of strengthen them up, make them happier, and learn different things. Do I have a Rubik's Cube? We've got a Cubics Rube. We've got other plans for other designs of things as well, like different board games that creatures could play. Let's put this down here. Yeah, so this is all going to be expanded out to have different things that they can do. What else is there? Give food, give love. I kind of mentioned, I don't have it in my list here, but we've got some, I've talked about, I've got a note here for Emergent village sports. So one of the things that kind of came out of the design for the village here was having creatures like pick up and kind of run with stuff. So creatures sometimes pick up and run with these balls or pool toys. And then obviously some other creatures might want to play with those toys as well. So you kind of end up with this kind of, we just noticed this emergent kind of gameplay where, creatures would be sort of, one would be running with a ball, the other person would be the other creature would be trying to get the ball or get to that creature, and then they sort of like start running around and like essentially kind of like playing ball sports. So we came up with the idea that we want to put things like basketball rings and soccer goals or gridiron goals or whatever, just a few different things in there so the creatures can start organically playing ball sports. So they have these balls that they can already move around and kick and run with. So they can sort of like start to make sort of emergent sports games. So we've got that coming. What else is there to talk about? Alliances. So with alliances, I want to kind of talk about that. Sort of loops back to some of the start stuff. So with the alliances, one thing that came out of this was like, again, tying back into the battle stuff was like, well, how do battles work with this village as the new sort of center of the universe? And what we came up with is it was kind of a much more sort of organic way to do it, which is that like the alliances, as soon as you form an alliance, that alliance gets a battle block, which then becomes kind of like the play field or the stadium for the creatures to do their battles in. And it's a really good way to kind of get communities working together to have these battle blocks. And then host these battles, and then when other players coming into the ecosystem start to use these battle blocks in tournaments, then there's a benefit that gets given back to the people in the communities who have these alliances, who have the battle blocks in the stadiums that people are using. So that was a really cool thing that came out of this. What else do we have? Disclosure in the stream, the nectar reward. So again, with the marbling stuff, when I kind of have really good ways to interact with these creatures and the marbles, to give nectar rewards. So that's kind of like you breed a creature, and you do get the benefit of the creature, but then before the creature bursts out of the marble, you get to play with it in these like, sort of unique, bespoke, kind of once-off games that you can only play when you have a marble creature. What else do we have here? Okay, let's have a look at our creatures. Where they're going. We've got a few guys like flying around. So these creatures now. So when they kind of born, they don't always have all of their abilities. So you've got some creatures, kind of like little baby birds. They can't fly straight away, but as they grow up, they get the ability to fly, and they'll kind of teach each other how to do certain things as well. Yeah, so some of these creatures I've had for like, I've just kind of raised and did yesterday, and other creatures, other little babies have been in here for like a few days or a week or more. So they're all kind of different stages. What else? Okay, so I've kind of got through most of my notes. I want to try one thing. So we've got the placing of plots. So you can kind of like guess, like depending on what you want to do with your plot, you might run out of space. So I can show you this live. So I'll probably, or maybe I'll just kind of, actually I'll show the harvesting first actually before I do that, because like the plot stuff is our new thing. So we initially wanted to do this live demo a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago. And we had a really stable build back then, but we've been working on this plot system, which I kind of bring up this overlay here. Again, just placeholder UI for now. We sort of worked on this plot system so that players could buy new plots and then sort of expand their plots and add new stuff. So that's a new feature we've been working on. So this is like one of the ones that could break the build. So hopefully it's all stable. But yeah, it's one of the currently in development features. But I'll quickly, just now I see the wheat here, I'll kind of mention the harvesting mode. So one thing that we want to have be sort of organic with these village plots is that as creatures kind of just walk around and sort of explore the village and the plots, and inside alliances they have multiple plots, they can actually forage for food. So you won't have to be there all the time to feed them. Otherwise they die or something. So it's not going to be too harsh. But obviously, the more time you spend in here, or the more things you kind of provide for them, like just kind of the happier they are, and it can be a bit more hands off. And so we want to have creatures be able to like discover bugs in here, or just, discover water, so have like little streams flowing through, so they can actually kind of feed themselves for most of the time. And then you can kind of come in and give them the food, like the nectar, the NFT food as a bonus. We decided to do this harvesting system as well. So this is another one of the ones that's in development. So this is not fully completed yet, but I can place some wheat. So I place some new wheat crops down here. And then we can do watering for these. Do watering, we can sort of see the server commands down the bottom telling us we've already watered these plants. We've got a few creatures chasing my mouse over here, kind of getting in my way. There you guys, all right, I get it. A little water Bocto here. Water Bocto has become a bit famous in our development team. Anyway, so we can do watering, we can do weeding to keep them nice and tended, and then once they're all ready and grown up like these ones over here, we can go into we can sort of fertilize as well. And once they're all grown up, we can harvest these, which means that we can harvest them for our creatures, so we can kind of feed them back to the creatures and put them in. Do I have a creature feeder in this village? No, I don't think I do. Okay, I'm going to place one. So we've got a creature feature, creature feeder. That's this one here. So I'll place that. All right. Yeah, so once you have a creature feeder, your harvested wheat can go into that. So again, it's kind of like a place that creatures can come back to and just get a bit extra energy when they're feeling hungry. The harvesting of wheat and the creature feeder all kind of play together. All right, so yeah, with the plot manager, so I will try to place a plot. So again, hopefully this doesn't break things. If it does, forgive me, but this is a development build, so that's fine. I'll place one to the right. Actually, it doesn't look to be working right now. So yeah, that isn't working. All right. Okay. So yeah, that isn't working right now. So all right. So we'll come back to that. So yeah. So I'll show everyone the placement of new plots in the next demo. But essentially the way it works is that as you place a new plot, the land gets placed down and you can start to scroll across. We're going to have plots that can go horizontally, so you can kind of keep on expanding this out, and then plots vertically as well. And then when you form the alliance, again, this is just placeholder UI. The alliance is going to look a bit like this, where each person in that sort of alliance community has like a spot. So these spots in here won't represent plots, they'll represent like the community, and each person will be sort of attached. So you can connect people to your sort of north, south, east, and west, and then those other players can connect people to their north, south, east, and west. And then within that, the creatures and the plots will all kind of connect together and be able to flow through. So for everyone that you're connected to, your creatures will be able to kind of like then go through their plots and kind of go off and play with your community creatures, or like forage for their food, etc. So it'd be kind of all sharing resources. So yeah, so the community plots will all work like this as well. Cool. What else is there? I think I've covered most of the key points actually, so that went a little bit faster than I thought. Let me just double check my plan here. Yep, cool. All right. So yeah, look, I've covered most of that off actually. Yeah, cool. All right. So look, I can play with some of these creatures. I can even show you another one. We could maybe even make a new account and start from scratch if people want. So let's do that. Let's go back to home on this one. All right, let's have a look. Okay, so that last one was my Garth account, and this one's Garth 2. So let me find, where is it, Garth 2? Okay, so Garth 2 is a new village. I just created this village yesterday. So I've done a bit of breeding in here, but this one's a little bit quieter. And this one's a smaller box. So yeah, the last one had 2 plots, and this one has just 1 plot. All right, so I got a question in the YouTube, so let's go to that. Okay, so the question is, so if I come to someone else's plot, I can breed a creature with someone else. Yeah, someone else in his creature. Yeah, okay, so yes, exactly. So in the previous design, one of the things we wanted to do was like have each creature's got a certain amount of breeding slots, which works really well if you're breeding your own creatures together, because then any kind of breeding slots you use up, you've kind of used for yourself. But then that design had a few little things we had to work out in the whole kind of pavilion staking thing, because if you stake something with someone else's and they breed a creature, then who kind of gets the bred creature? They get the creature, but then you lose a slot on yours. It doesn't sort of seem quite right. So we've come up with we had a few different ways to solve that, but anyway, we've got a new way to do it here. So yeah, so if you join in an alliance with someone, if you've got one creature and they've got one creature, only one of you need to have a love shack, so you don't need 2. You can then breed, and each of there's kind of like one will be like the parent. So let's just say creature A, creature B. So if you've got creature A and you decide to breed with your alliance members creature B, then you can go and you can take them into the love shack, and then you can breed with them. As the owner of creature A, you pay the nectar for the breed, and your creature takes up the breeding slot. So the other, like creature B, doesn't get one of its creature breeding slots taken up. So yeah, so you can breed with each other, but it would be only your creature, like sort of like the parenting. So each player's creature will be like the parent creature. So it'll be your creature that takes that breeding slot. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, from Raz, yeah, only having 2 to 3 creatures because this mini would be exhausting. Look, definitely, this is a lot of creatures. I think this is kind of more than we expect people to have. This is kind of hectic. But that said, like if you've got enough toys in here, you've got the creature feeder, and you've got wheat, and you've got alliance, people can kind of come and hang out together. So it would actually get easier. So it's kind of again, like if you've got a bigger family, kind of people say if you've got a lot of kids, it kind of parenting becomes easier at a point, because the kids take care of themselves and take care of each other and keep each other entertained. So yeah, so there'll be kind of like a bit of an inflection point where it becomes easier. From Jacobites, I love the interactivity. Thank you very much. So do we. Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff, like even just like this whole thing around like just picking up, kind of throwing your creatures, seeing the creatures playing together. This is kind of placeholder UI. So some of this stuff in here, it's pretty busy on the screen. If you turn this off, you can kind of see the creatures and their interactions a little bit better, but you kind of can't really see exactly what they want to do. Let's play this game with this little guy. What's his name? Oh, he just ran away. No, come back and play. Where is he? He's going to eat. Come on, let's play. Let's play. All right, cool. All right, cool. So I just selected my creature. So this is the creature that I want to play the game with. My little, I can't remember what he's called, this one. But yeah, I want to play this one. So I brought him over to the arcade machine, and now he's in the game. So let's do this. Try to get a good score for the little guy. Get his skills up. Yay, 46, not too bad. That's not too bad. Yeah, cool. So yeah, just the idea of like coming in here with these creatures and like taking them into games. Yeah, like throwing them around. Oh, I just threw him behind the building. We'll come back. He'll find his way back. Let's get this guy. You can throw them off screen, and they kind of bounce around. And this snake just got a little bit lost and then came back. I don't know where I threw him. Yeah, and you can sort of like throw the toys. And yeah, if you kind of like start moving toys around, they can get interested in the toys depending on their personality. So yeah, so now the bird's interested in the Rubik's Cube because I've got it moving around. So it just kind of feels really nice. Like it feels, yeah, a lot more interactive, a lot more emergent, and a lot of fun. Let's get some food in here. Oh, I don't. Okay, so this is a new account. I don't own any food, so yeah, so that's fine. I can't give them food yet. I need to go and get some, which I won't do now. All right, so let's have a look at see if there's any other questions I can get to. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So Crypto Chris, spend the whole time jumping to get the skills up. Yeah, so again, like the arcade games, like they're really cool ways. Like again, this is like a development update and game update. Like these games, like these little mini games, they don't take us long to make. So these are really fun ways to kind of have the creature kind of get leveled up, and then have the player kind of interacting with the creature in really kind of like easy kind of low cost development sort of ways. Like yeah, each of these games takes us like 1 or 2 days to make. They're kind of like really easy little fun mini games. Yeah, so we've got a couple of creatures here I want to play. I want to take this little guy. What's his name? Oh, it's Sunbopus. Let's try to take him in the jumping game. That's too many game creatures I want to play. We'll come back to that one. So yeah, so these mini games are really fun ways to kind of like level up your creatures. And actually, one thing I can show is like the stats on the creatures. Let's have a look. I've got Shift Tab. I've had a tab open in one of these, showing the creatures. Let's have a look. Can I Shift Tab? No, I can't go to that tab. Sorry, I don't have the tab open. But yeah, you can sort of see, like I showed in the last stream, you can actually have the creature stats on the server. So you've got a whole creature page where you can see the creature and see, see its different sort of abilities and what it can do, its strengths and weaknesses, etc. So in that one now, for the creatures that are being bred, you can see their needs and see their personalities. So yeah, it's kind of like a fun interaction. So you can sort of get a bit more of a get a bit more of a sense of which creatures you're kind of breeding. Okay, so I've got a question about, can you loan someone the creature if you don't have that specific creature? So yeah, so the answer to that is yes, but that's done through alliances. So the idea is, if you've got, instead of just kind of having it staked in like a web interface, we're going to do it through Pavilion initially. The idea now is, if you have someone else in the community that want to breed your creatures together, then you join into this alliance. So you become a part of this alliance community thing. So does that make sense? So like it's more like, it becomes like a village. So you kind of put your plots next to each other, and then your creatures can interact with each other sort of naturally and more organically on the plot, which means you can then breed them together. So that would be the way to do it. So if you wanted to kind of find someone with a certain creature, you might go into our socials, like our Discord or Telegram, ask who has a bird, for example, find someone or find a few people, get chatting about what you want to do together, and then you can join their alliance, or they can join your alliance, etc. So that's the way you'd connect to each other, and then get all the creature breeds, so you can breed whatever combinations you like. Got Raz asking a question about creatures on different plots can interact with each other's, like neighboring plots can interact. How to differentiate the creatures in terms of ownership. So, okay, so each player's got their own inventory. So there's, I guess it's like 3 different places you can see the inventory. So in Pavilion will be the first one. So you go in Pavilion, you can see all your creatures there. That's an easy spot. We've got another UI here, so you can see what creatures you have in. Is my Octobite. You see all the creatures that you've got. So there's my starting creatures, and you've got some bred creatures here. So that's a good way to see your own creatures. And then we've got this little panel up here, which is another place to see one of your specific creatures and see how it's going. See what it needs. So these that's 3 ways to see what's your inventory versus someone else's. So somebody else will have their own inventory, so they'll see different creatures, even though they might see like your creature on their screen, they won't have it in their inventory. In terms of finding your creature on the screen, I've got this little one. He's the guy up there. So if I wanted to find him, he's currently just sort of at the scratching post, but if I wanted to find him, I would just click on his image here and then centers onto him. So yeah, I can sort of find different creatures in the UI here, and then hit this button to center on them. So you see it's kind of centering on him. So that's the way I can kind of go off and find. If you've got lots of different creatures on different plots, you can use this to go track down your creature. Cool. Thank you. Someone said, yeah, they love this game. It's going to be wild. Look, it's kind of hard to understate how excited the team's been about this new feature. Like, it's the more we play with it, just the cooler it gets. And again, it's I gotta say, like, it's one of those designs that's actually kind of making itself. Like, again, so the battle box is still there, like the battle mode. But yeah, this kind of mode, it's just kind of designing itself. Like, we kind of put the beach balls in, and then they kind of enable creatures to kind of like we can pick up and throw these creatures around. We enable creatures to kind of kick each other or pick up the ball and throw the ball, and then sometimes we'll get the ball. I don't have any balls in this village, so let me just get one. So we can maybe see it. Let's maybe get a couple of balls. We have like a bit of a placement bug here that we need to fix, so don't mind that. I'll get a pool toy as well. There's a pool toy here. Okay. So once you sort of see these creatures, hopefully we can kind of see it happen, but there are occasions where a creature will kick a ball and then it goes to another player, and the player, that other creature kind of kicks it back. I mean, sort of see up here our Sunbow Puss has then gotten that ball and carried it away over there. So it's really cool when they start kicking that ball between each other and it becomes like a bit of a ball sport. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching this and kind of working out what the game needs to be. So yeah, it's just a natural progression for us to put in the goals and the scoring, and then we'll kind of see where it goes from there. I guess I will mention, like, when we did this feature, we already had, we saw in the battle mode, we already had all of this kind of, all of this art and the user interface, and I'll show you the grid again. So we already had this kind of grid-based system which we use for the battle system, and then the props in the battle mode, provided cover, etc. So we already had this kind of layering system and the way for props to sit into these grid cells. So it was actually really easy for us to make all of this stuff. So we've just kind of taken the same system that we already had, but just created a new interface. So now it's not kind of us making like these like battle blocks and putting trees and cover and weapons in certain spots. It's now players can use this. So it hasn't meant us creating a whole new feature. It's basically taking features we already had for ourselves as developers and then giving those to the community to make their own plots and raise their own creatures. So yeah, so kind of like the other features that we've added, like these ball sports, etc., have all been very sort of fast and just fast and fun for us to make. What else have we got here for questions? So we've got another sort of 7 minutes before I was going to end the live stream. So Raz has asked how many creatures would recommend for a plot. So we've kind of, so one thing I haven't mentioned is we want the happiness of the creatures to be, like, the happiness of the creatures based in the village to kind of flow through to battle. So obviously kind of creatures that are well cared for, well fed, you take them into the battle and their happiness is at maximum, which means they get a bit of a battle boost. So we've got like a bit of a game design thing where the recommended number is sort of not exceeding, a certain amount for the plot, because if your plot's too overcrowded, you've got like, let's say you got one plot, and you got like a dozen creatures, that's maybe fine, and then if you've got enough sort of residences for them to live in. I'll give an example over here. So we've got like barns and outhouses, and I've got a couple of barns over here. So you can see my population counter down in the bottom corner down there. So you ideally don't want your population exceeding, like your creatures exceeding the population, which right now you can sort of see that I do. So I've got 22 creatures and I've got spots for 13 creatures. So right now, not every creature has a place to sleep. I could also mention that we've got a day-night cycle, so you don't have to take care of your creatures all the time. So so sort of creatures are awake through the day, and that day-night cycle is going to be tied to your, or is tied to your time zone. So as it's getting to your night time, this will turn into night here, and your creatures will kind of go off to bed. So so ideally you've got enough barns and outhouses for your creatures to kind of like shuffle off and go to bed in. So creatures who have been housed and are kind of a better rested and going to be happier. So so we recommend not having kind of more than a certain number, which is sort of defining what that number is, but a certain number per, can be around sort of like 12 to 16 per plot, and then having enough barns and residences for your creatures. So that's our recommendation. But again, like if you collaborate with other players, someone might want to have sort of barns, have a lot of barns, but not many creatures, and then your creatures can go and use their barns as well. So not every player has to have all the barns. So you can join together and sort of share, creature feeders or barns or whatever. So Crypto Chris, so you don't have to stay awake to take care of your babies. No, you don't. So we want to kind of make it so there's like, sort of touch points through the day so you can look after them. Like a Tamagotchi, you got to do a few little things to kind of keep them happy. Join alliances that have got some community around them. Make sure they've got enough sort of stuff to do through the day. And then when you go to bed, they also go to bed. Okay, let's have a look. What other questions? I'm just gonna scroll bar. I'll scroll up a little bit. Might be stuff I've missed. Mr. Skedifi Gaming Channel, God had to do his hair, that's why it was a bit late. Sorry about that. Like, it was actually like just kind of like getting the broadcast set up and hitting the right buttons. So my hair was fine from some hours ago, but thank you for the compliments on my hair. My hair doesn't work too well with the green screen. It's a bit fuzzy around the edges, so doing my best. All right, cool. Time zones and alliances, can it be night with me and day for your plot neighbor? You know what, that's a really good question and not something that we've solved yet, so we're not totally sure about that. It's likely going to be, I don't know, I'll come back to you. I mean, we kind of, there's going to be, I haven't talked about like the plot owner or like the alliance owner. So there is going to be like what we're calling a chieftain of the plots. So whoever kind of buys the chieftain totem and lays that first then becomes like the alliance member. So it's going to essentially work a bit like a DAO, right? So if you join alliance as a decentralized organization that kind of manages that. The day-night cycle will likely kind of be based on the sort of the chieftain of that alliance, which means that which is cool, but that also probably means that you might want to join an alliance with someone who's in a similar time zone to you. So that's kind of where we're at currently. That's not set in stone. We'll come back to it, but that seems like a likely mechanic. And that said, like even if you're not in exactly the same time zone, if you're in a time zone with someone who's like 6 hours ahead or behind, it might actually be really good to do that as well, so that you've got sort of people who are kind of like coming online at different times to do different things. So someone can do some morning stuff and jump in there and take care of the creatures in the morning. Someone else can come in sort of towards the end of the day or whatever. But look, one thing I'll say is like we want to make this stuff fun, so we don't want to make, like, we're very much like of the opinion that we want to make this stuff fun. So we want you to jump in and like actually enjoy doing stuff in here. We don't want it to be like you just have to come in here and have it feel like work. Like absolutely not. Like this should all be fun and funny stuff. So you know, and one of the mechanics we want it to be even just kind of being here and being present. So anyone who's being around kids will know that kids just like you to watch. So if you're just like in here like with the window open and the creatures are being watched, then they just kind of get happiness just by having the window open. So they kind of feel, we kind of be calling it like daddy's watching, or you know, mummy's watching kind of thing, right? Like yeah, like a kid might be riding a bike around. I know with my daughter, she'll ride a bike around and she's happy to ride around if I'm sort of like there looking at her. But if I stop doing that and I walk away, then she'll kind of like come and find me and kind of bring me back into her play. So so yeah, just even having the window open can be enough to kind of keep them happy because they feel like you're there and you're present. Yeah, Raz, yeah, you're already taking care of your own kid in real life, so you know how to do it in this game. Yeah, exactly that point. Like, this is something that's kind of a bit more kind of lo-fi. You put the stuff in there and the creatures interact with these objects themselves. So for a lot of them, they're going to be kind of like parenting themselves. It's kind of up to you to form alliances. So you've got like, you know, the exercise bikes, or let me put some other stuff down. So you've got like, yeah, dumbbells you can place. So let me put that down. Dumbbells, stretching posts, you know, weights, etc. Stick that here. Yeah, so you kind of place this stuff down, and then the creatures, yeah, interact with this stuff themselves. So we're going to have like a range of things that are like fitness based, skill based, educational, and just kind of like more like or sport based as well. Yeah. So, and I kind of mentioned bugs before as well. Like creatures, I won't go into this too much, but creatures will have bugs around which they can eat, or they can even catch. And yeah, I don't want to give too much of that away, but there's some really cool stuff that we're working on around, you know, catching bugs and kind of raising bugs, let's say, as pets or something. I won't say too much more, but yeah. So as long as you've got like a cool alliance and you've got enough stuff going on in the alliance, so you should be a bit more hands off than being like an actual parent. You won't be here like cleaning up after them and sort of, you know, changing nappies, etc. Question. Okay, it's past 8 now, so I guess I'll answer one more question. Can you stake your creatures in a match for X? I stake a bird, lose the match, the winner takes the bird. Oh, right, okay, so like, yes. So we don't have that feature yet, but we've got like a couple of ideas with the battling. So one of the core things I showed in the last video was a PvP, so player versus player competitive battles. So in that one, if creatures get injured through the battle, then they will recover. So you can't kill a creature, but it will sort of take some time to recover. So the recovery, if they aren't in a village, is kind of like one pace. It's kind of like the sort of the previous pace. Let's say it might take a day or two before they recover. If you have a village and they can run around and sort of rest in the village, then that'll be shortened, that'll be faster. If you've got a barn, they can rest at night, then it'll be faster again. So we kind of had plans around like creatures taking damage and then taking some time to recover. We also have a design in mind for future, which is a bit more hardcore, which is like permadeath. So if you take your creatures into the battle, if they die, they die, and that's a bit more extreme, but in a weird way, it's kind of fun. I guess there's a bit of risk involved in that, so that could be that's a mode we have in mind as well. Yeah, and we also do like the idea of having creatures be like pink slips essentially. So like playing for pink slips. So yeah, you could have one of the creatures get either captured by the other team, or let's say stolen by the other team. So we have talked about that as well. So it probably won't be in the first iteration, but that's something that will come. We would like to come. I mentioned with the battles as well. So the battles are going to be a battle block within this system, this kind of village, this new village alliance system. I'll mention that we're actually also working on a PvE battle mode. So that's we're kind of at sort of stage 1 of that. So that does already exist. So yeah, so it's kind of you playing against the computer. So if you don't want to do also two things. If you don't do tournaments, you're not the sort of person who's like competitive and wants to play against a whole lot of other people, then you can do the battle mode, sort of like the arcade mode that you saw in here. So you can play like the mini game, and that's just a PvE, like you playing the computer. But also in similar way to taking the creatures into the arcade games, you can take your creatures into this kind of battle training mode. So that's like your creatures versus the computer. So that means you can do lots of battles, get your skills up in the battle mode without having the risk of getting your creatures damaged and having to recover, because this would just be like a simulation mode, so you can kind of play the battle and practice in that battle mode. So yeah, we have that working. I might show that in the next video. We want to kind of show off more of the plot-based alliances. We'll show the battle mode, etc., the PvE battle mode, or battle training, or battle simulator. Cool. All right. We're gone past 8 p.m. So, all right. Thank you everybody for joining. I hope you enjoyed our little insane village mode. Yeah, and I think you can all see like how far this has come in a short time, and how much potential this has. I mean, one of the closing notes that I'll leave you with is that we've been referring to this as the like Animal Crossing meets Pokemon, which is essentially kind of how it is. Like, it's the same sort of mechanics as that. That wasn't our intention to do those. It just kind of the game designs and mechanics that kind of just emerged out of this mode. So we kind of just did each feature as it kind of was obvious from making the village that it kind of had to be made. So yeah, so once we kind of made those features, it's sort of, we kind of took a fresh look at it, and we just sort of surprised that we just kind of, yeah, we've kind of end up making an Animal Crossing versus or meets Pokemon. So yeah, hopefully you can all sort of see the potential in this and see the kind of fun that's going to be had. And yeah, all right, so looking forward to seeing you all in the next AMA. If you've got further questions, you can re-watch this stream. You might have some new ideas or some new questions you want to bring to us, so feel free to go into our socials. Links are in the description. Post your questions, comments in our Discord and Telegram communities, and yeah, look forward to seeing you all in the communities, and then again in a week. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great day or evening or afternoon wherever you are in the world. All right.